All right, cheers. So, I've been a millionaire for about 6 years, and in that time I've met thousands of other millionaires, and there is one thing, one simple, easy thing that we all do that has made us millionaires that you can do, and it's really simple, really straightforward. I'm going to explain it in this video. It's called the discipline paradox. Now, if you don't do this, and you don't know how to do this, the chances of you making money are incredibly slim, so I'm going to explain it. Now, it's going to take me about 14 minutes to explain, and if you can't sit and watch a video for that long on how to do this, I'm sorry, but there's no chance of you ever making it financially. So full screen the video, turn the notifications off, and we'll get started. There's this thing called the discipline paradox, and if you know how it works and you know how to use it, becoming a millionaire becomes really straightforward and really easy. And actually getting rich and actually becoming successful without knowing this is like, it's near impossible. It gets really, really difficult if you don't know how to do this. So this diagram here of this horse and this person, this essentially represents you and your body and your mind. So bear with me. It's going to be a bit weird for a second here, but just going to have to bear with me. So the rider represents your consciousness, okay? This represents you, the way you experience the world. The horse represents your mind, and it represents your body. So basically your psychology and your biology, okay? Psych and bio. And what we have here, over here on this side, is this map. And the way that you want to look about becoming a millionaire or becoming successful is to imagine that this X here, X marks the spot, this thing here, this represents the status of being a millionaire, okay? So having $1 million in your bank, okay, or more. Now, what we can do is we can take the rider, so your consciousness, your body and your mind, and we can understand that the journey to becoming a millionaire is quite long, okay? And we have to go all the way along this path and to arrive here, okay? And typically, this path honestly can take 4 to 8 years to complete. Honestly, the average is probably about 7 years, okay? And what that means is this is a pretty long damn ride. The problem is that for the horse, like for the consciousness, for the person sat on top of the horse, it's not all that bad because, you're just, the horse is doing all the work for you. All you've got to do is sit and enjoy the view and maybe have slightly chafed legs, right? But the horse is the key. The mind and the body that carries you to millionaire status is where the problem comes. And this is why you need to learn the discipline paradox, because what happens is when you start this journey, your horse needs to be looked after. The way that people look after their horse at the moment is through discipline. And so what's going to happen is, if the horse gets to this point of the journey and, it starts getting like sad and it's exhausted and it can't go anymore and it's too much for the horse, then what happens is the rider will start to like whip the horse, or it will start to discipline the horse and it will force the horse to go further, and it will demonize the horse and it will just force it. But the problem is what happens after every couple of 100 miles or 1,000 miles or whatever is the horse collapses. And the consciousness, the rider, has to wait for the horse to recover before it can go again. And so this is why this is called the discipline paradox, is because if you're riding a horse, you should intuitively understand that you cannot push this horse forever and ever and ever and ever and expect it to sustain its levels of energy. It's the same thing that if you took a car and you drove that car at its maximum speed for 24 hours, you're going to need to wait for the engine to cool off. You're going to have to probably replace some parts of the car, because biological and mechanical structures burn out. And the horse, for you, remember this, the horse represents your psychology and it represents your biology. In other words, it represents your mind and your body. And just like a horse or just like a car, your psychological and biological structures have limits and they have a tendency to burn out. And so this is why the secret to this journey is a lot of people, what they do is they try and rush and they rush and they rush and they rush and they rush. And what happens is before they get to the point of being a millionaire is they burn themselves out so significantly and they take themselves to the, the edge of anxiety and stress and depression, and it kills them basically. And they fall off the horse and then they end up never making it because they're too afraid of trying again because they burned out. Or, they get halfway and it's really tough and they just get exhausted, they keep getting sick, they keep getting exhausted and they just stop. But your job is to try and find a way to sustain this journey and to sustain the quality of the horse and just get there real slow. This is why it takes like 7 years to become a millionaire. If we didn't have biological or psychological limitations and constraints, then it would be pretty straightforward. And becoming a millionaire, you could get it done in like probably, 6 months. But as I'm sure you've observed, trying to sustain a 12-hour-a-day discipline for any more than a couple of weeks at a time, it's really difficult. So what we need to learn to do is basically cycle between two states. And this is why this is a paradox. It's because the real discipline that you need to develop is the discipline to be undisciplined. And this is I know that sounds a little bit weird, but just think about it for a second with me here. So you need to imagine that you have a battery, okay? So let's say that this here is your battery, okay? And this is the battery of your mind, and it's the battery of your body, okay? And every day, you wake up and the battery gets filled with 100% of energy. What happens throughout the day, is, this battery is gonna slowly start reducing till eventually you have 0% energy because you've used all your energy throughout the day. But the problem is this doesn't just exist in the day, because you have a battery in the week, you have a battery in the month. And what a lot of people do with their mind and their body is they exhaust the battery over and over and over again, and they start borrowing reserves. If you imagine for a second with me, let's take a week. So this is 1, we've got 2, we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, okay? So we've got 7 batteries, and at the start of the week, all of these batteries are full of energy and full of life, right? 1 for each day of the week. On Monday, let's say that you deplete, all your energy, and on Tuesday you deplete your energy. But then let's say on Wednesday that you have a really long day. And so what you do on Wednesday is you deplete all of your energy from Wednesday, but let's say that you borrow half your energy from Thursday. And so now for Thursday, you've got half the energy you'd usually have, because Monday was a normal day, and then this was like a chaotic day. And you had to take so much energy from the next day. So then on Thursday, let's say that you try and behave as you normally would. And so therefore, you take all of your Thursday energy and then you take all your Friday energy, right? And then, this means that on Friday, you've got no energy. You literally have nothing. So you have to start borrowing the reserve from Saturday and Sunday. And by the time you get to Sunday here, you're burned out. Because what's happened is you've borrowed energy reserves from the next day and the next day, and you've borrowed from the future, and now you've got what we would call an energetic debt to pay. Because this is no different from borrowing money. It's like, if you borrow money like to pay off another debt, now you're still in debt and you've got loans, and now like you've got interest to pay. And what happens to your body and your mind after a while is you just burn out. If you keep borrowing tomorrow's energy, and if you keep going beyond, the energy. Now, let me give you an example. Right now, it might not seem like it, but I am nearing exhaustion and burnout. And I know that I don't want to get too much into my sob story of burnout here, but I burn out regularly. Like once a month, I end up, not being able to function properly and losing sleep and getting all stressed and all weird and worked up. But I'm very good at managing this because, right now it is Wednesday and it is 10:43 a.m. in the morning. So I am mid-work week, very important day. We've got stuff to do, but I'm exhausted and I'm very tired. And I knew this was going to happen because last week I went balls to the wall and I borrowed all of my reserves from this week because I'm working on a course, working on a program. So, it's very exhausting stuff. And I've had to pull on my future reserves. And so what that means now is I have to pay those reserves off, and I have to, today, I am going to do less work and I'm going to be more intentional with my relaxation, and I have to exercise the discipline to be undisciplined. And you have to learn to do this, because a lot of people, what they want to do is they want to sit in this monk mode, protocol where they're consistently energized and they're just like, yes, go. But it doesn't work, because the thing is being here feels good. right? It feels very good, and it's very addictive to be in this monk modey, I'm working all the time state. But the problem is after a while of borrowing future reserves, because monk mode requires you to borrow out into the future, what happens is you just burn out. And this is the same sort of, trying to be in monk mode all the time or trying to be in extreme discipline mode all the time is no different from riding a horse on a really long journey and trying to ride that horse at a full speed gallop for 3 days. The horse is going to collapse. Like it can only go so far. Like the biological limitation of the animal can only take you so far before it collapses. And then what happens is, we get this thing called forced rest. And forced rest, it looks like this. So forced rest is where you burn your body out and your body just says, right, you know what, enough's enough. I'm not having this. I'm not tolerating it anymore. And this is how you fall into a rut. It's how you fall back into bad behaviors, junk food, all the bad habits start creeping in because you've exhausted your discipline and your energy on the work and doing the good things. And now you're forced to behave like this guy, and then you just become desperate. What we want controlled rest, okay? So instead of, going really hard in this monk mode state, you're in this perfect state of discipline for as long as you can be, you need to learn to integrate rest into your routine, right? And so this is what I'm doing today, for example. So I've got meetings later, I'm making this YouTube video now, but today I'm not going to be doing any deep, hard concentrated work. I'm not going to be going to the gym. I'm not going to be, doing anything taxing on my body or my mind. I'm going to let my mind and body relax and rest. I might read for a few hours. I might watch a movie, and that's fine. And the problem that we've developed here is everyone's demonized rest and relaxation. But the problem is that if you don't do it, and if you don't control this body and this mind, you burn out. So when you're taking this horse on the journey, you understand that the horse isn't much good to you if you don't feed it properly, if you don't let it sleep properly, if you don't rest it properly, if you don't look after its hooves and take care of any diseases it catches. The same thing is true with your body and your mind. If you're not feeding yourself good food, if you're not hydrating properly, if you're not sleeping properly, if you're not allowing it to have some downtime and some rest and some relaxation, it's gonna kick you in the throat, and it's just gonna basically throw you off and run away. And what's gonna happen is you're gonna enter this forced rest, which can last for it can last for 2 months. I had this before where I burned out when I was starting my first business, and I nearly hospitalized myself. I know that sounds like an exaggeration. I burned myself out so I rode this horse basically at full speed for 6 months. And it's possible, but what happens is I literally developed dissociative personality disorder. I didn't know who or what or where I was. I couldn't connect with another human. I was in a constant state of brain fog, anxiety, apathy, and depression. And I can't even begin to describe how horrible it was. I nearly hospitalized myself. And I had to take 3 months off of work and everything for my body to just recover and for the cortisol levels to come down and for my body to recover. And I existed in this horrific, forced rest state because I had nothing to give. I borrowed from reserves that were 4 or 5 months out. And so I had to, pay off that energy debt and discipline debt. And if you can learn to do this, and if you can just learn to integrate rest and learn your body and your mind and the patterns of burnout, you're going to get rich way faster than if you just, you can't just whip the horse into submission because the horse is stronger than you. Your consciousness is powerful, and yes, you can exercise willpower and discipline over your body and your mind and force it to do hard things, but only to a certain extent. You can only take it so far. So don't take the piss, don't take advantage, let it rest from time to time. The key is learning when you need rest and when you're coping, because what a lot of people do is they use burnout as an excuse to cope and not work. So, for me, you need to basically learn the signals of burnout, okay? And a signal of burnout for me is waking up at 5 a.m. problem solving, or, not being able to sleep, or no appetite, or I start getting weirdly anxious, or I start getting brain fog, or I start getting really tired, or I lose my motivation to work. Last night, for example, the core indicator for me that I am about to burn out and need to give my body a day of rest is I woke up at 3, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and I was in a problem-solving frenzy. Like I was half awake, half asleep, but my brain was just sorting variables and trying to like work and solve problems. And it took me like 2 hours to get to sleep. And this morning, like I feel a little under the weather. I've got sort of like a blocked nose. I've got a little bit of headache. I don't feel well. This is my body telling me like, hey man, like don't push me because I'll give you a fever and I'll give you, the flu, or, I'll force you to, eat burgers so you can't do anything for like a week. Like just watch out, mate. So that's pretty much it. Learn the discipline paradox. Just relax, take it easy every now and then, and get back on the horse when the horse is ready to go. Take care.